Disclaimer, we'd like to note before the start of this interview that the opinions about to be expressed by the guest on tonight's Getting Salty Experience podcast are that of the guest and do not directly or necessarily reflect the views of the host of the Getting Salty Experience podcast.
Put the fucking fire out!
You're listening to the Getting Salty Experience podcast.
Hello, Doug Doyle, QC Beast, Darren P, QC Beast, Rob Procaccini. Welcome all back to the Getting Salty Experience podcast. The only one, you know it, Grant, brings the firehouse kitchen table to you.
To you.
Along with everything else, bro. Right?
You got a new haircut done?
No. I'm disappointing Proc right now, but no, not yet.
No?
Why
We got a
Procaccini all up on your stuff?
Wait. I'm actually out of place right now. Did you see that? Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I don't know. What's
Tonight
happening?
we're continuing in our segments of
The Author's Corner. Oh, yeah.
30 fires you must know.
Yeah.
Number one bestseller right now on Amazon, guys. You better get it.
Oh, you beat me to it.
Oh, sorry.
We have best-selling authors on this show. What else can we do on this show, bro? We get the legends. We get best-selling authors. We get guys from all over the world.
They're still for sale, or what's the story?
They're back on Amazon. Second run going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're hot right now. Hot.
It's a hot item for Christmas. That and Cornerstones of Leadership. Got to get that in there. A little plug in there for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wait a minute.
Hey, Ruff, where are you?
You mean this one right here? Okay.
Oh, the shameless plug.
There you go. Sorry, that Chief. He doesn't even realize it.
Talented guy. Who knew, right, Ruff? We worked with him that this guy is going to be best-selling author.
I mean, we kind of knew.
Deputy chief on the job.
We knew it wasn't going to be us.
Yeah.
He had the best shot.
Yes.
You got to know when you're an idiot. I'm an idiot, so I'll never happen.
That's how it goes.
Where are you anyway, Ruff? You're out in Iowa?
Log cabin.
God's country, baby.
Wow. Is it lonely there? You by yourself?
Right now, I'm by myself, yeah.
Who are you out there hunting with? Wordy?
So, myself.
Oh. You enjoying a little peace and quiet with yourself?
Yeah, my friend's right up the road.
Oh, your friend's there already. Look at
They
you.
get together and they go cow tipping.
Yeah. So you got one, right?
Oh, stick it in your grandma.
So you got one already. You can come home now.
That's it.
I'm coming home Sunday.
Sunday. What'd you get? 15
Sunday.
pointer?
Yeah, I'll get one or two.
I'm still waiting for that picture he was supposed to send me the other day.
What's the big one look like? How many points?
15.
15 pointer. Where are you going to put that? You got no room in the dead room. Where are you going to put it?
The dead room.
The dead room.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's right. That's where the keyed truck is. The truck is out here. The old truck.
You hit it with the bow?
Bow and arrow, yeah.
Bow and arrow. I told Ruffy the next thing I wanted to do is run out there with a Bowie knife in his teeth and jump on its back and just damn it.
I can see that.
Did you hear what his last word was before you put an arrow through his heart? Did he say anything?
He didn't say nothing.
Nothing?
He said I served him his papers.
Have a little tear in his eye?
No.
You got his papers.
He did the Sebastian Maniscalco. He realized the mind fuck with this thing sticking out of his chest.
Right.
Coobs, I served him his papers, Coobs.
You did?
Yeah. But don't
That was funny.
See what you did there?
You got to say that. You got to bring that up. That was a good one.
What's that? Oh, God said I got served papers today.
Yeah, I got served papers today, and then
By your wife. Boom! I still got it.
It didn't even come out of it didn't finish coming out of my mouth before he was like, "Oh, your wife."
I'm like, Coobs has still got it, man. He's pretty quick, man.
Yeah, man. For that old guy, it's crazy.
I practice on the little Asian kids, bro. You know what I mean?
We're gonna be scarred for life.
All right, let's get all the shenanigans and chicanery out of the way because we got some serious topics. I want all you young guys out there to get a pen, pencil, and jot down notes because there's nuggets in every one of these stories. We got 2 stories today, 2 different fires of the 30 fires that you must know.
Yeah.
By best-selling author Billy Goldfeder and Chief Leeb.
No.
Leeb's going to get frequent flyer miles from getting salty now. He's been on the show.
He's definitely. We can see what his point count is up to. Right
He's got to be up there, man. He's flying all over the world. He's got the getting salty credit card. He's just
we got to send him a microphone or something, for God's sakes. My goodness.
FME, man, or
all
FMI.
That money, bro. He can't buy a
FMI.
microphone. You got to turn the sound down.
Figure me in, baby. Let's go.
All right, guys, let's get to 2 commercials really quick, and then we'll bring them in.
All right, let's listen to New Jersey Fire.
Established in 1930 and under the current ownership since 1987, the New Jersey Fire Equipment Company handles a complete line of fire department equipment and supplies. Headquartered in Greenbrook, the company operates full 3M Scott service facilities in Ridgefield Park and Toms River, staffed by 10 fully authorized Scott certified technicians with a fleet of 6 fully equipped service vans. All New Jersey Fire technicians and sales representatives are active or retired firefighters, officers or chief officers, career and volunteer. They understand the business and the importance of their work. New Jersey Fire has represented Scott since Earl Scott entered the SCBA business at the end of World War II. Among other leading manufacturers represented by New Jersey Fire are Globe and Firedex Turnout Gear, Mercedes Hose, Task Force Tips and Akron Brass, Hygenol, Fire Hooks, Arctic Compressors, MSA Carnes Helmets, ChemGuard Foam, Alkalite and Duo Safety Ladders, BA Face Shield Protectors, Truckman's Choice Saws, Grove's Gear Racks and Washer Dryers, Supervac Fans, RPI, Streamlight, and many others. A New Jersey incorporated and based company, sales and service are limited to the state of New Jersey. Find us now at www.njfe.com. That's www.njfe.com.
All right, here we go. Next
Get them in here.
Here we go.
Need a new floor for your fire station? Choose an Armor Tough interlocking flooring system to cover your aging, stained, cracked concrete or epoxy floor. Armor Tough has been around for nearly 20 years and has proven to be the best choice in renovating your station's floors, covering nearly 600 floors across the country. Proudly made in America, Armor Tough comes with a lifetime warranty and are usually installed in 1 or 2 days, depending on the size of your station, with virtually no disruption in your station's operation. Our system is guaranteed from chipping, cracking, peeling, breaking, or staining. The tiles are stain resistant and impervious to chemicals or volatiles that are used in the fire service. Damage one tile, lift and replace without anyone knowing. And once installed, your floor would be easy to clean with just soap and water. Is your current floor slippery? Eliminate the slip with Armor Tough.
You asked me what the friction coefficient is, Professor Kubler? Well, here it is. Fiddlefat! Poppycock and Fiddlefat! The friction coefficient.
We left that in there for Leeb because that's how a best-selling author sounds. You see, sit with a five like this and he writes his book.
He's I don't know, his reaction is not really like, they didn't find it funny.
All right, that's fine.
All right.
I think that's it. I think we're gonna jump right in and bring.
You want to do the shout out now to your friend really quick?
No, you got to get Chief Leeb in because he's the one who introduced me to him.
Okay, yeah.
So let's bring in Chief Leeb and Billy Goldfeder, world-renowned. I'm going up to world-renowned authors of 30 Fires You Must Know.
Here we go.
What's up, brothers?
You're back again. You must like us. Really like us.
really like it.
Must be great.
Low bit. I can't get enough of you guys.
Is that what it is?
Mush.
I don't know about
Gotta
that.
be great.
Hey,
I went to a fantastic. I was honored to be asked to go to Chief Leeb's retirement with Firefighter Joe Wiz. And me and Chief Steve went all the way out there. We had a hell of a time. A lot of great guys. Honored to be there with Chief Leeb. Thanks for the invite, fella.
Yes. Thank you, brother.
But do you have that picture of our boy Mikey who was out there?
I do. You ready?
All right.
So we have 2 of them. So I'm going to show you this one. Boy, little Mike, a little shout out.
There he is.
There he is. So that's Mike with his parents. So he had been the Elmhurst buff for all of the years that I worked in the 4-6 Battalion. they moved down to North Carolina. And when Mike found out about the party, he told his parents, "We got to go." And he drove. They drove him up there, and they attended the party. So it was pretty cool. So thank you to not only Mike but his parents. And I think you got another cool picture.
Yeah, I think so. Let me see. This one might be a good one. Let's see. Oh,
that's a great shot. Who's that old man? Oh, that's me.
I was going to say,
Mikey.
yeah.
How come you didn't tell anybody it was a Hawaiian party? Only you and Firefighter Joe Wiz had Hawaiian shirts on.
Yeah, because it wasn't. Firefighter Joe Wiz. So Driver Joe said to me, "What do you want to wear?" I said, I don't know. I said, "Let's wear a collar shirt that says FDNY or something." He's like, "How about a Hawaiian shirt?" I said, "Why are you asking me then?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it. You want to wear Hawaiian shirts? We'll wear Hawaiian shirts." So that's what we did. We wore Hawaiian shirts.
All right. It was a great time. Food was good too, man. Excellent.
Yeah. Oh, look. So Michael's in the chat. I see.
Oh, is he?
Brooklyn.
He's
10-8. He's available on the air.
10-8 and available for overtime.
Nice job, Mikey. All right, we're going to give Chief Leeb and Billy the privilege of bringing in these next two. One's a chief, right? One's still a firefighter, I believe.
Yeah. So let's let him
go ahead, Billy. Introduce him.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with our first guest, Micah Kiger, who's the Deputy Chief and the Chief Fire Marshal from Loudoun County, Virginia, and he's going to talk to us this evening about as close a call as you can have.
All right.
You
ready?
Family dwelling. Go ahead. Yeah, bring them both up.
All right, here we go. Yes. And then here comes. You ready for the next one?
Go ahead, Frank.
And the other person we're going to bring in is Brandon Cory, and he's going to talk about a fire that he responded to in the UP, the Upper Peninsula.
Oh, you stole that from me. I was just going to say that. You son of a gun.
Well, here he is. The baseball applause.
He's in the upper P where it snows 362 days out of the year.
Yeah,
only 6 to 8 feet.
Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being part of the 35
Thank you.
Snow. It's an amazing book. I think this is going to go down with a report from Engine Company 82 as one of the iconic books in the fire service. That's how good I like it. That's how much I love it.
Thank you.
Where do we want to jump in first?
The pledge.
So just real quick, and again, as we said on the last show, there's no bragging here because Frank and I coordinated it, but the people who were there are telling the stories. And then all the money being made from this book is being donated to 4 charities: Chief Ray Downey, Firefighter Cancer Support Network, Tunnel to Towers, and the First Responder Center of Excellence. So there's no money, but we are really excited. Yesterday we found out that it's a Amazon bestseller. So that's pretty cool. We're pretty excited. And
they thought I was pulling that leg. Yeah. Amazon bestseller, baby.
Yeah, we're real proud of that. And again, not only for the learning, but for the money we're raising. But people like Micah and Brandon, who after we went through the whole process, just said, "Yeah, we'd like to tell our story." So I'm going to start my conversation with Mike, and this is a little close to me. I was the chief of department there in Loudoun County for about almost 10 years. In the very, very early stages when it was mostly volunteer. And now it's about 50-50, right? Half career, half volunteer, and career staffing around the clock pretty much. So it's America's fastest growing county. And in May of 2008, they had that fire that not only changed some of the guys involved, but it changed the direction of the organization, in my opinion, and Micah will get into that. But they went to a dwelling fire on a street named Meadowood that they'll never forget. They arrived on the scene, and they had heavy fire coming from this 2-story single-family modern construction, right? Lightweight wood truss. This thing was rocking. When they went in the house and they were doing a search, things got very, very, very ugly. And instead of telling the story, I'm going to yield to Micah, who now serves as a a 4-star chief in Loudoun County. He's the chief of the Fire Marshal Bureau. And Micah, welcome to Getting Salty. It's a pleasure to have you. And I think, as the guys said when they opened the show, whether it was Cubes or whoever, grab your pencils because there's a lot to learn.
Or your iPads.
These guys have got some stories. Micah, welcome aboard.
Welcome. If I can,
hey, thank you. It's an honor to be with the group, and I know Gonzo wants to hit the pledge, I believe.
Oh, he's a mind reader too. Look at him.
Look at that shit. I mean, okay. Can we just get that out of the way before we get going? Thank you, guys. Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the reminder, Chief. Patriotic. Great to be an American today.
Yes, sir.
All right, Chief, whenever you're ready.
Jump right in,
So
fella.
if you're ready, I guess we'll get into it.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
So May 25th, 2008. Let's talk about it, man. 43238 Meadowood Court, Leesburg, Virginia. Is our third or fourth box call for the day. I would love to tell everybody that, we burn stuff every day in Loudoun County. That is not the case at all. We do run fires. As you see there in that picture, that's a Type 5 construction, lightweight, which was very common for our county. It was built in 2006, brick facade on it, 2 stories in the front, 3 in the rear, has a walk-out basement on side Charlie, which is actually below grade to the rear of the home. Arrived on the scene, found 2-story single-family dwelling, had smoke and fire. Looked like it was either in the attic or running side Charlie. Got out of the truck, out of the engine. Started side Alpha, side Delta. Stopped at the Charlie Delta corner of the house. This fire looked so much like all of the other similar types of fires, where started on the back, melted off the vinyl siding off the back into a V, up into the vented soffit, up into the attic space, and off to the races. So I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that my decision for us to go inside that house was made way before that picture was taken right there. And that's where transparent accountability, however you want to chalk it up on the job, is my decision that we were going to go inside that house was before I ever saw 43238 Meadowood Court. I account a lot of that either to fire service confidence, which in other terms could probably be labeled as complacency. I'd been to fires like this before, thought this one was no different. That picture right there was taken exactly 4 minutes before a Mayday occurred, and I didn't think me or my crew were going home. 2-story single family. You can see very, very light smoke at the front door right there. Made entry on the first floor. After I got inside, light whitish, grayish colored smoke. Could see about a foot out ahead of me. The rules, if you can't see your feet, you need to be on your knees or down on the floor. I was able to kind of bend over, see the floor. So I was about 10 or 15 feet behind my firefighter, which her name's Brandy. This was her second ever working structure fire, working in the county. So knew that this one, what I saw on the backside of the house, as I said, was the fire had ran the outside and up into the attic, but it was also vented out the second floor window in the center of the house on the rear, which brings into question, what do we actually call houses? How do you label floors? So on and so forth. So my return that I gave on the radio was confirming we had a 2-story single family dwelling. Fire second floor, and it brought into question whether I was talking second floor from street side or second floor from the rear of the house. So to be very clear on that is now if I arrived on the scene, I would describe that as a 2-story single family dwelling, have fire on the number 2 floor, Then I would also confirm that we are labeling the floors basement, floor number 1, floor number 2. That way, when I say that I've got a working structure fire number 2 floor, there is no question where I'm talking about inside that house. So visibility, as I said, was about a foot, light white, whitish, grayish colored smoke on the first floor. Taking a guess what I saw on my thermal imager before we went up the stairs. Anybody have a guess? I can give that answer because I was there, obviously, but the answer was nothing. I saw nothing on my thermal imager because it was left outside the structure. It was not in my hands. So that's a learning point. That is a tool. Even jumping in the time machine back to 2008, we had technology such as a thermal imager, and it only works if you have it with you. So I did what I was taught in training. You will hear me talk about training over and over, probably as we're talking here. I am a huge advocate for training. At some point in my training, it's as simple as, if you can't see, how do you know that you're getting, closer to the fire? What's the simple answer? Simple answer is it's getting hotter. So I learned very early on in my career that if I turn my head, I can actually tell a difference between heat on my face and heat on my ears. So with that it's what I call the microwave test. Is I take things out of the microwave, I hold it up, and I turn my head, and you can use that as a teaching point to folks. So with that is I turned my head at the bottom of the stairs, didn't notice any heat whatsoever. So where's the fire? Fire's upstairs. So we start upstairs, make the second floor, trust in your gut and paying attention to all the different senses that we have. It's not just vision, it's not hearing, we went up those stairs.
Chief,
right there,
line with you
right
at
there
this
at that
time?
banister on the right-hand side.
When you say you went upstairs, did you have a line
Yes,
with you
sir.
at that time?
We
or you
deployed a
just-
200.
Okay.
No, on the engine, we stretched a 200-foot 1.75-inch attack line with a fog nozzle on it. Made the second floor. The firefighter did not open the nozzle until we got into the fire room, which was in the center of the house, second floor. Conditions in there were as you would expect. Active fire in that room. Excuse me. And visibility was a little bit different. Everybody knows that after you open the nozzle, what happens? Your visibility changes. But started hitting active fire inside that room, and something to make a note of is where I was talking about, paying attention to where the heat's coming from. Inside that room, the heat was coming from the left-hand side. After we were in there for a couple minutes, I left the line immediately after we got up there. The firefighter was still spraying water. I came off the line and I vented a window on side Charlie of the house. Double hung window. I raked it out. I pulled the sash into the room. And there's a question. I just said, I left the line. I left my firefighter. Can you do that? My answer is yes. If you talk to OSHA, what's OSHA going to say about it? Well, I've got an answer for that also. Is OSHA says that if you're in an IDLH, what do you need to do? You need to operate as a crew. And that crew is 2 or more personnel maintaining contact and in a position to be able to render assistance. So with that is I maintained voice contact with my firefighter. So I was comfortable with that. After I got back on the line, the tower crew, Lieutenant Early and Firefighter Singleton, they came up to the house, second floor. They started a primary search in a bedroom towards side Alpha. That was at the corner of Alpha and Delta. To be honest with you, when we made the top of the stairs, I would say how I would describe it is the crime wasn't, the punishment wasn't fitting the crime. Is I didn't encounter the volume of fire that I thought that should be there, which meant that it was definitely above us in the attic. So with that in mind, started knocking down the fire in that bedroom, and I came off the line a second time. When I came off the line the second time, I started doing a primary search inside the master bedroom, and I started noticing some changes. That directional heat that seemed to be coming from the left-hand side initially now felt like it was all around us, and kind of felt like it was trying to push us down into the floor. It went from being warm to being hot to being uncomfortable. Everybody probably on this call has been on on a fire at some point where you try to get that air gap in your gear where you kind of move around a little bit to get a little space in there. And that wasn't clearing it at all. I called out on the radio to ask the exterior, the chief that was on the scene. Yes, sir.
How many people are on? How many guys are at the scene at this point? Is it just you and 3 guys? How many guys?
So our minimum staffing on an engine is 3. And at that point, minimum staffing on special service to include tower, straight truck, rescue squad was 3. 3 was bare bones minimum. That day we had 3 on the truck or on the tower, and there was actually supposed to be 4. That was a staffing thing that we had going on in the county where they would deploy the 4th person off of the special service and deploy them into a minimum staff position elsewhere to keep units in service. So we were used to running with 4. That day we were actually running with 3, which actually kind of plays into when we see a picture of the timeline here in a couple minutes of how the incident went down time-wise with it, that I speak of it in 4, 4, and 4. We were on the scene for 4 minutes. Mayday occurred, took accountability, was declared on the scene.
Holy
now,
Marshal.
If you listen to,
so you only have 6 people. You have 6 people on. You got 6 people there. That's what you're saying.
Well, the chauffeur's outside, right? The driver, engineer is outside pumping. So
so we had 4 folks inside and 2 outside.
So you only have 1 line.
1 line
with you and a nozzle man or nozzle woman at the time, right?
Yes, sir.
That's how it goes with that minimum staffing. When you have those minimum staffing levels, like South Florida, for some of us are accustomed to, it's you got to juggle a lot of things until the crews get there.
And this is the majority of the country, right? So
we
are spoiled when we
think trying to figure out
so we have NFPA compliant staffing in New York City, and only very few other cities and areas have that. So that's an important consideration when you think about this and you think about the staffing. For anybody who's watching or listening to this, about you got to make do with what you have on scene, and that's exactly what he's doing and walking us through. I'm sure, Chief, you would have loved to have 30 firefighters on scene at that fire, but the reality is that at that point in the fire, he's going to have 6, and like you said, some of them are outside. He's trying to, comply with OSHA to the degree that we can, while
nothing
also
good could happen with that.
So there's a lot of competing concerns here.
Nothing good can happen.
Well, guys are going to wear many hats, and they're going to push the limits until they can get the personnel there that they really need, or the proper personnel there that need to get ahead and fight that fire. So, did you, Chief? You want to pull up the timeline now?
Sure, I can speak on that here for a second. I think where I left off was I called out to the chief that was on the scene, and I asked him if we were making any progress. And he came back and he said, "You're starting to make a hit on it, but you still have heavy fire in the attic ridge vent." I liken that to the fact of kind of making a push on an entire second floor of a house being on fire. As you're making progress and you get kind of to the point of what I call the point of conversion, is you kind of get teetering there on the edge of whether the fire's going to go out or whether you're going to make a decision to have to back out. That's where I was in my brain. So along with, it went from being warm to being hot to being uncomfortable. When he gave me the return and said, "You're starting to make a hit on it," I thought that we were at that point of conversion. To be honest with you, it's like, man, we're right there. It's going to start getting better. And with that I called out on the radio and I said, visibility is 0. And the folks that are on here know that, know now through Project Mayday, that is one of the things that's a trigger. That is something, if you hear it on the radio, you need to pay attention to it. So with that is the tower crew that was out towards the front of the house. They started noticing all the exact same changes that we did. And they came, and as soon as they got to the doorway of the master bedroom, we now had fire blowing over us from the first floor. So the origin and cause on this fire was improperly disposed of smoking materials on the back deck. The back deck was located off of the first floor. on side Charlie. So it burned into the house horizontally as well as external on the house, going up the vinyl siding on the outside. So it came into the first floor while we were on the second floor, got into overstuffed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, let me just, I'm still on I want to pause for a minute on the staffing issue, because what was missed is that your first alarm that would have generally been on this assignment was tied up in a neighboring town on another run. So that plays into the response challenge. But, when we talk about mutual aid, Loudoun County is probably as aggressive with automatic mutual aid as anybody in the country. There are parts of Loudoun County where the first alarm is coming from Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia, 3 states. And they were doing that when I was there in the 80s. So it's not about they don't want to staff well or they can't staff well. And people listening to our show tonight, if your staffing sucks, then you need to look beyond what you can do about it. They're not going to hire you 50 people tomorrow. So what are you doing with your neighbors? What are you doing with automatic mutual aid? In my area, all of our departments are doing everybody's fires. I'm getting 30 guys in about 8 to 10 minutes, depending. But that's not from one fire department. So I just want the listeners to, as the guys from Salty pointed out, they're only staffing for one line right now. And that's not due to any attitudes of not wanting mutual aid. Companies were not in the right position at the time. And that shit happens. That's going to happen. So I want to just kind of paint that picture and also remind people, if your staffing sucks, there are some solutions to that.
I also wanted to touch on something because I was kind of trying to listen to what you were saying. So you said it was early on, you had mentioned something like it got from the siding into the attic and you thought it was above you. And then the second floor had a room that was on fire, but now you're saying that the fire is actually on the first floor? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Chief?
So we ended up, yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So this fire basically threw out, but you guys were on the second floor and the fire was actually originated on the first floor.
Tell them where the fire started, Chief.
So, yeah, the fire started on the exterior on the deck, which was off of the first floor.
Right.
So it was starting to break through apparently at the same time that we went to the second floor.
I got you. So it wasn't showing.
Then
on
it
the
got
first
into
floor.
the family. It was not shown on the first floor.
Right. So it got into the attic.
So fire had made. Yes, sir. So fire had gotten into the family room or living room directly below us, and got into overstuffed furniture, which sent it to flash over rapidly after it got in that room and started taking possession of it. So there would be the view from the Charlie Delta corner. I saw in the chat there was a 360 completed before entry, and the answer is absolutely it was not. And that is a huge takeaway on this, whether it would have changed my decision making at all on this. I already gave you all the farm, so to speak, because I told you my decision to go inside that house was before I ever saw 43238 Meadowood Court. Mm-hmm. We cannot be that way. We can't. And that's where my size up stopped. I went from side Alpha, side Delta, Charlie Delta. That's where it stopped. I had seen this fire before. I've been on fires. I addressed them the exact same way. And I articulate that point because if it sounds like I'm confident when I tell you that, it's because I'm confidently complacent with exactly the way that we handled this fire. I'll hit rewind here for a second. Go ahead, sir.
I was just going to mention just a little FYI on my part was that's a good teaching moment, at least a 360 done. Great question. That's from the chat. Because if you look at some of the writs and Maydays and stuff like that and see what some of the elements or contributing factors, that's one of the factors that gets lined up in there. So for those that want a learning point, it's take that extra second if you can get the building's not too big and you can do that 360. It's imperative that you make that 360.
In the chat also somebody
absolutely
wrote,
and
somebody in the chat wrote, "What if you're alone?" I'm going to be real respectful. You're not a fire department if you're alone. If you're sending one person on a piece of apparatus and the community feels that's a fire department, then you're just kidding yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a sensitive spot to me, because as we see, people want to cut budgets and want to do this. At some point, you got to decide. In Loudoun County, the first alarm assignment with this would have been 3 or 4 engines, 2 or 3 trucks, a couple every. They have good responses. But there are places in this country, certainly Frank and I have seen it, maybe even Brandon and Micah, that are running one person on duty. And you know what? That's a salesman. That's not a fire department. And so I saw the comment, what if you're alone? You're going to hit it with a deck gun. I mean, you're not going in. You're
not making entry.
At some point, we can't do the job. That's right.
Yeah,
that's true too.
Chief, if you had done the 360 and you saw, what you think you would have saw, I know hindsight being 2020, what would you have done differently?
So it's not a fair question to say what I've done different on this fire, because I had handled fires like this the exact same way before, and this is the one that burned me and my crew, literally. So I don't say that to be a smart ass at all. I say that as a point that when you cut corners, you do exactly that. Is you just get in the way, which isn't the right way. I would love to tell you that had I made a 360 on that house, it would have completely changed everything that I did. The answer is no. 16 years later, if I went on that same fire today, or as a command officer, as a deputy chief in a department, or as a shift commander or whatever, would I have somebody's ass for not doing a 360 or hitting it with a large line on the exterior that knocked down all the fire before crews ever went in there? The answer is absolutely yes. That's where the learning, has occurred, that I cannot be more transparent, that the things that I see now of folks have completely changed. And it's not because we jumped in a time machine and things changed. It's because our folks have continued to change. And as Chief Goldfeder said earlier, it's a cultural thing in the fire department. And unfortunately, May 25th, 2008 was a day that started to change the culture for our department and for our county.
And we are so grateful
that
for you coming on here and telling us the honest story. And most importantly is how you've evolved to be better today than you were more than a decade ago, right? So that is such a huge takeaway here, is that we're trying to be better and learn and evolve. And that's exactly what you did. So we're super appreciative of you being on here. And I would advise you, don't read the chat, because you'll lose track of your thoughts. The chat can blow up and have 1,000. Next thing
it's a black hole, the chat. Don't go down the black hole.
Stay away from the rabbit hole.
Hello, Joe. By the way,
I switch over to the private chat. It'll just be.
No, if there's something that's important, guys, I'll bring it up just so you know. But
so I'm just thinking about like that the picture of that house. My house is very similar. It's 2-story, has the deck, and then has a walkout for the basement in the back. There's basically, in my mind, I mean, unless there's no way I could go in there with 2 people with one line with fire that's on the first floor, into the second floor, and into the attic. There's nothing. What are you going to do there? Like, you can't hit that with 30 guys. It's going to take 2 or 3 lines and immediately being stretched to make any impact. So it's not saying anything about what you guys did. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in general, I can't imagine stretching a line into my house and thinking that I could do something there. Like it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean?
Gonzo, can you go back to that first picture from
this one, or you want the smoke show? You want this?
There should be the one with our crew there. So I can tell you, as a 28-year-old captain.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to mention
in the county. That fire there was go all day long to me. And I don't say that, trying to be in a measuring contest at all. It was just the facts of what it was. And again, was the confidence or complacency, whatever you want to assign to it, I've been to this fire before. So that picture there is, we are still trying to figure out how to get out of that joint after we called a Mayday. So I'll use that picture as a good indicator of the Mayday was called. I think that you've got a snippet there of the actual Mayday from video on the scene. I'll give a little background. Then if we could go into that, that would be good. So with that is I left off with, I had just called out on the radio, told him visibility was 0. I thought that we were at that point where we were just starting to maybe get a hit on it to get ahead, which wasn't the case. And it went from being warm to being hot to being, we need to get the hell out of here. The tower crew had came and made the doorway of the second floor. So if you want to let it play there for a second, then I'll take it.
Okay, we'll play about 30 seconds of it. So here we go.
1316. Safety 601 also. Okay, safety 601, 1316. Commanding knowledge, Mayday, engine 6, second floor. Rescue, need you in there for reactivation ASAP. Tiger 601 to command, evacuate. Structure class rear, evacuate.
That smoke is just...
Engine 18 on scene.
Well, you can't put that out with a 2 towel ladders.
Yeah.
Loudon to Chief 11, did you copy everything? So I'm trying to get radio traffic. Command all out. All units operating fire. Evacuate structure ASAP.
Okay.
So, Chief, now what are you seeing when this is going on?
So just prior, total black, absolute total black. And it was literally 4 years after this, or excuse me, 6 years after this, when we went in a flashover can for the third time that I've ever been in a flashover can for training, is I had a thermal imager with me. That third time that I went in, and I was able to connect what I was seeing or not seeing at Meadowood Court to what I saw in that flashover can. And that was what's called black fire. And that was the fingers coming through the smoke that was burning in the room that we were in. So with that being said, it went in my brain when that M word Mayday popped into my head. There was no waiting to call Mayday. It was, I know that we've got fire below us. We're stuck. Tried to call Mayday and I couldn't. I couldn't because I carried my radio on the outside of my gear. The interface on where the lapel mic connected into the side of the radio had melted, burned clear away. And the reason why I couldn't transmit a Mayday is because my fingers melted into my lapel mic.
Oh, my God.
So I don't say that to dramatize things. I say that because, hey, my radio wasn't working. Well, my radio would have worked if I would have reached down and actually squeezed the button on the side of the radio. That's another training point. Wherever you push the push to talk on your radio, whether you got a lapel mic hooked up to it or not, is where that thing opens up. If I would have keyed it up actually on the box itself, guess what? It would have happened. It would have worked. I would have been able to transmit a Mayday. But what happens training-wise with that? Well, I couldn't do it, so what did I do? I told Jack to call a Mayday, and guess what? He did. It wasn't by policy. It wasn't perfect, but you know what? He transmitted it. It was acknowledged, and they started deploying resources. So that is a win in my brain on exactly how to address that situation. So at that point, we made it to Brandy and I stretched to the top of the stairs. It took me 2 weeks after the fact to remember what I saw or what I felt at the top of those stairs. Well, what I felt was burning, but what I saw was orange. That was it. It was like our head was in a jet engine with fire blowing past us coming up these stairs. So Brandy tells me, well, actually, before I get ahead of myself, do you know what we heard? We heard nothing. Nothing at all. No federal cues. I could barely hear myself talk. Well, if I can barely hear myself talk, it's not just a normal, muffled face piece. You all saw the picture there of how thick that smoke was coming out of that house, how black, how dark, how thick that stuff is. That's an indicator on the inside of a fire. If you can't hear your partner right beside you, smoke burns, right? That's a concern. We need to be aware of that. So Brandy tells me, I don't have any water. And I'm thinking to myself, rain is the way that you play. That is what it is. And I went into survival officer mode. She told me she didn't have any water. What am I thinking? I'm thinking that because of how stressful this situation is, something as simple as pull to open and close, that wasn't a thing. So you know what? I took the line from her. I opened it up. It goes limp. I close it. It goes semi-rigid. Well, 10 feet back from the nozzle, our hose almost burned completely in half in that amount of time. So that's where you talk about training. Is day one of engine company operations, what do they tell you? Once you're on that line, you don't put it down. So we had to abandon the line because we're burning above the fire and it's doing nothing for us. So that umbilical cord that's connected to mom sitting out on the street, with that hose, met up with Jack, didn't have any contact at all with Bones. Bones is Lieutenant Early, which was the tower officer.
So, here, 1 second. It was you and Brandy together. Who's Jack?
So Jack was the firefighter on the tower. He was the backstep firefighter on the tower. Normally, when I tell this story, I give all the names at the beginning. I apologize. I need to have like a spreadsheet here to go off through all this stuff. So,
oh my God! Wow.
So where are you right now?
You lose him?
Yeah, his signal's been cutting in and out. Micah?
So can you guys hear me?
On and off.
Yeah, your signal keeps coming in and out.
All right, check out me.
It's okay. I think it's your internet. It's a little jammed up. I should give you the AOL.
Can you hear me now?
Got you now.
All right. So tried to transmit a Mayday, get to the top of the stairs, don't have any water, throw our hose line down. We make it back. Brandy and I make it back to outside the master bedroom. Jack, the firefighter from the tower, is outside. We're making contact with him literally verbally. Can't see anything whatsoever. No contact with Lieutenant Early, which was the tower officer. So what's going through our mind? Why is Bones not answering? Well, he's not answering because he's dead. That's exactly what went through our heads. Is the reason he's not answering is because he's dead. He is overrun by fire just like we are. But I will tell everybody that's on this podcast that I believe in training, because if you train the right way, it will not fail you. It just won't. I switched into survival mode. The first thing that I recognized, I told Brandy to get a hold of me and not let go. She got a hold of my waist strap on my SCBA, and I wanted tactile contact with her. I knew the experience level. Jack was used to operating on a truck, without a line, with unassisted searches. He was used to that. So I'm good maintaining contact with him verbally or yelling at him, and you can barely hear it. But the first thing that I noticed was how fast I was breathing. And this is where the first thing that I corrected was my breathing. Is I knew that I needed as much air as what I had in my cylinder. Well, secondary to that, I wondered how many more times I was going to be able to breathe that air out of my cylinder, because it was hot air that was coming into my face piece. Then third to that, I don't say this to dramatize this. This is the reality of it. I was already making preparations of what I was going to do when my face piece melted off. So it didn't. Did I think that I was going to die? Yep, sure did. But a good motivator is having people with you that's screaming. And that's just the fact of what it is. And it was my job to get them out. So that's what we did. So it went from the center of the house towards side Bravo. First door that I came to was an inward swinging door. Couldn't see anything. We're burning. And my hands slide across the floor. I recognized that I was either on linoleum or I transitioned from carpet onto a slick surface. Inward swinging door. Where do inward swinging doors go in your house? Generally somewhere where they can be occupied, right? So my hands slid across the floor as tile linoleum. Where am I? I'm in the bathroom. I'm in a bathroom off of a hallway. How big are bathrooms off of hallways? Generally not very big. I was in that bathroom long enough for me to recognize that and turn around and come right back out. I couldn't explain it to you that day, but in training, you pick up on these things. So kept going towards side Bravo. We make it inside a secondary bedroom towards side Bravo. No windows on the front side or the side of this, this bedroom. When Jack came through the door, it was me, then Brandy, then Jack. When Jack made it through the door, Jack closed the door. This was 2008, mind you. This is when we were still punching out windows, on structure fires, because that's what we did, because it changed the survivability
Thank God.
profile for anybody that was stuck inside that house, right? Right. So with that being said, is we didn't talk about flow pass. We didn't really do Recio VS. We didn't do any of that shit. We didn't recognize it. We didn't have all the science that we have now. But what did Jack do when he came through that door? He closed the door. So what did that do? That compartmentalized where we were. Stuff that was on fire stayed on fire, but it kept additional heat and fire from coming in on top of us. So inside that bedroom, we end up, I'm scraping the wall, trying to find windows. Ended up hearing glass break. Window was taken out on side Charlie. That ladder was thrown by my engine driver. He threw the ladder long enough for it to punch the window. Then he went back to help the tower driver throw more ladders. So with that is we go out through the window, make it down, make it outside. I'm trying to cut down some of the story here. I apologize, but make it around side Alpha. And I look back at this house and it's 100% involved, at this point. And I'm like, what the hell did I miss? It's not like we were in there for 20 minutes fighting fire, or a half hour. It just wasn't. And somebody came past and I said, Bones is still in there, which is Lieutenant Early. I said, Bones is still in there. They said, no, Bones is over there. So let's talk about Bones for a second. Right towards the end of when that video was stopped is you hear the battalion chief on the radio. He says, evacuate, structural collapse in the rear, evacuate. He says that over the radio. We had the Mayday. Truss system ends up coming down inside this master bedroom, which actually separated Lieutenant Early from myself, Brandy, and Jack. So Bones ends up going into a master bathroom, closes the door. He's taking baseball swings with his 4-foot D-handle Boston rake, trying to bust out these 4x4 windows that are around a garden tub. Well, these windows don't open. They don't open up and down. They're not casement. They don't open side to side, none of that. Well, you come to find out these windows were made out of what's called Herculite glass. It is a laminated type glass. It's a safety glass. It's similar to what they put in cockpits of aircraft. Why the hell would anybody put this in their house? Well, safety. They're not thinking about firefighters. If I'm getting in the garden tub and I've had a couple Chardonnay and I slip and I put my arm over into the glass, my arm's not going through it. So it's a thing. It's a safety thing, right? It's a safety thing that we know about now that I didn't know about then. He displaced that thing 2 or 3 inches clear out of the frame and couldn't fracture it, couldn't get out. He dropped to the floor to die until he thought about his family. He would tell you the same thing if he was sitting right here beside me right now. That was his motivation to get up off the floor and give it one last shot. He opened up the door. He used his, get this, thermal imager, looked for the coolest spot in the room, which he figured was a window. And you know what? He was right. He goes head first, running through this window, head first, goes out 3 stories down to the ground, into the woods out back in front of Engine 18's crew that had just stretched to the line around side Charlie, hadn't gotten water yet, lands right in front of them on fire. So they're putting him out. With the point here is, remember that window that I talked about at the beginning that I took the time to rake all the glass out and take the sash and everything out? If you ever wonder why, that's the window that he ended up going out unobstructed. He didn't have to stop, mess around with the window. He went head first out that window. So they drag him around side Charlie, side Delta, side Alpha. And they told me, they said, hey, Bones is over there. And I had to see it for myself. And I heard him before I ever saw him. But that meant 2 things. meant that he had an airway and that he was alive. Those were a whole lot better in my brain than being dead. So insert 3 months later, most of us are back to work. Well, half of us were back to center after multiple grafting surgeries. And you know what? He got retired because of his injuries from Meadowood Court. You know what we have to show for that today? You know what they did with the house after they investigated? They knocked the damn thing down, then they rebuilt it back on the exact same foundation.
Wow.
We had nothing to show for almost killing 4 of us inside that house because the decision was made before I ever got to that house. So I can't speak enough on this subject. And with Chief Goldfeder calling, this morning to see if I was interested, you all can hopefully see my passion. And you know what? I'm not telling you we did everything right on this call, but I'm telling you that there's a lot to learn from here. That on this book, it's going to save somebody's life. And I can't articulate it any further than that.
What, Chief, what was the time frame from the time that shit went sideways till the time that you guys came out that window?
So it was 4 minutes. There's a few seconds here or there with it. But it was about 4 minutes after the Mayday is when we finally made it out.
That's a long time, man. That is a long time.
It seemed a lot longer than that inside too, I can assure you.
Yeah.
So what were the takeaways? Like what did you feel were the takeaways?
Dropping them all over the place.
I know.
There was several. There's several takeaways.
Yep. So some of the takeaways, there's a whole bunch from it, but I'll start with accountability. That's one of the pieces that I talked about. Listen to the radio traffic with it. You'll be like, I don't know what he's talking about with this 4, 4, and 4. Well, because the times don't match up with where my brain was with what I remember as stuff. I remember looking at the safety officer at a specific time. Then I remember him talking on the radio. So I know because I was there that we were all out at that point. Well, it was after that when they got on the radio and said, you've got firefighters jumping outside Charlie, out to the rear, all these different things. And we were already out at that point. And with that is they went for the longest time thinking that we had a firefighter that was missing. And this is one of the biggest points to make out of all this is, would I make a decision to put a brother or sister in the house? The answer is, you damn right I will, because that's exactly what I would want to do if I was in that situation. So with that being said, is accountability matters all the time. It really, really matters in these types of situations, because we thought that the fourth on the tower was missing when in fact they weren't. We only had 3. And they were starting to deploy additional RIT teams and stuff inside to look for a firefighter that just wasn't there. So they actually were able to figure it out once they got off our passport accountability tags to the command post, and they started checking people off and determined that, oh man, they're at minimum staffing today, so we're good. And they got full accountability of all of us. So that's one of the big ones. The 360. I can't hit enough on that, is whether it would have changed my decision or not. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
Somebody
I
saying
was
something?
saying the accountability part, that's after things have gone bad. I was trying to key in on, like, if you want to try and have guys in the future who are fighting something similar to this, what would you say, like, from the get-go, that what were the takeaways, like, after they looked at the fire? Like, what were things that they said you could have done, should have done, didn't do, those types of things that, those guys will know for the future. You know what I mean?
Sure. Is to kind of summarize very quickly, is 360, whether you want to do it or not, we now have a policy that you shall. It is whether you can agree with policy, not agree with policy. That was a cultural change that we made. You have to view all sides before you go interior the structure. That is a rule. unless you're in a known rescue situation when you get there, you better hear it on the radio for folks to hit them. Agree, disagree with whatever, but you know what? Our folks know that is a checkbox that they have to hit before they can go inside. I think the big T word, the transitional fire attack, even though transitional is not really a mode, is will our folks pull up on a structure fire like this, whether they're fully staffed or not, and take a big line around side Charlie and knock it down for 30, 60 seconds and eliminate your problem, and make it safer, to reset the fire. Is that a thing now? Absolutely it is. If we would have started on the back of that house, hitting it from the outside, you all wouldn't listen to me tonight verbally flatulate.
That's pretty good.
On your show, because it would have been a nothing fire, to be honest with you. And that is just the fact of what it is. As many takeaways as there are from this. And again, as I know, the book, I think, articulates it very well, the points in it. But the facts are that for every one thing that went wrong on this incident, two things went right. And I think that you have to focus on the things that you can learn, because after this incident, the first time that I ever gave a presentation on it was in Fairfax County, Virginia, to an officer development school. They said, "Hey, can you put some, can you tell us about your fire?" I started off with literally, 4 PowerPoint slides, and a bulleted list that I had jotted down like on a napkin or something to talk to these folks about. But it's morphed into a 4-hour presentation now because of the things to learn. And I dedicated myself on the front end of all this thing that I would do my best to try to pass this information on as much as I could, as long as the information was still relevant. And you know what? I haven't worked myself out of a job yet, because there's always it's the same stuff that you see all the time. And, I hate to be blunt with that, but that's just the fact of what it is I wish that I didn't have to teach about this fire anymore, because we were perfect, but we are some hard-headed bastards in the fire department. And you know what is sometimes it just takes hearing it from the right person to, man, that sounds like me. And I hope that folks take that to heart. So that's some of the big ones from me.
Micah, one of the things we tried to do and I think we shared this the last time we were on with the guys from Getting Salty, is to identify fires that most firefighters are going to go to. And I would argue that other than maybe in some cornfields or something, every firefighter in America has these houses. Mm-hmm. If there's been new construction in your area in the last 30 years, you have these 4,000 square foot lightweight wood truss, basically pieces of shit. They're dangerous before they catch fire. Mm-hmm. So this applies to everybody.
You know what you said too, Chief? Like you said, for everything you did wrong, you did 4 things right. And I'm sure there was a time that you might have beat yourself up for doing some things, but as I'm listening to your story, I'm listening to your training come through, like, because you should be proud of that. Like the fact that you knew you had to slow down your breathing. You knew that she should grab onto your back. There was things that came through from your training that probably saved your lives. So you should be proud of that. It's hard to.
He won't say it, but he received the Silver Medal of Valor for saving that crew's life.
Yep.
And he should have. Like I said, it comes through. The training comes through, man. And kudos for you, man. You did a great job.
Yeah. So I have so many points I want to talk about on this fire.
Thank you.
My sheet of paper is full, but where is everybody today with their injuries? We're more than a decade past that. So tell us a little bit about that and explain this picture to us as well.
Sure. So a point that I'll hit here that I find interesting is that you never want to become a statistic, right? But I can also validate that some of the things on Project Mayday are very valid, from a front row seat, is where I hit earlier on, we're above the fire, or visibility is 0, these triggers. Those 2 gentlemen that you see stand on the left-hand side of that picture were both drivers for my station. But both of them were assigned to the opposite shift, because what is one thing that happens with Maydays? You don't have the usual crew working. Interestingly enough, that was us that day. Or you don't have your normal staffing. That was us that day. So technician Yoder standing there on the left, technician Dave Allen in the blue shirt, second in from the left. Both of those guys still work for the fire department. Dave Allen, the guy in the blue shirt there on the left, he's actually assigned in our internet or information technology system section within our fire department now. Jack Shingleton, the one in the sunglasses there in the center, he was the backstep firefighter on the tower that day. He's a technician now, which is a heavy apparatus driver as well. Lieutenant John Bones Early, he's the one that's standing there with the wraps on him. Sometimes when you say that people go through things, I think that as terrible as this sounds, is out of all of us standing in that picture, that is the one. That dude is a fireman's fireman 100% through and through. He spent 3 months in the burn center. That's actually the picture of the day we picked him up to bring him home. 3 months in the burn center, multiple grafting surgeries, and now he got medically retired because of his injuries at Meadowood Court. But you know what? That dude's alive because his training worked. Then, of course, the good-looking dude over on the right-hand side, that short guy, that's me. Then that's Brandy Eisman, was Brandy Laypole in this picture. Three kids since then. She's actually a lieutenant in our department. That chick she's solid. She is assigned to one of the busiest engines in the county, and at Meadowood Court. That is a tough chick that will have your back, man. Can't speak enough for the folks that I went through that experience with. I wouldn't say that I would handpick them, but you know what that is the best hand that I could have had that day to make it through that damn experience. But to say that these folks made lemonade out of lemons, that's probably a good way to put it. Is everyone has made positive strides since that day. Everybody has their own way that they tell the story. And interestingly enough, I went through one of my law enforcement classes for the fire marshal stuff, crisis intervention team training. And we were talking about this, and a guy looked at me, he said, well, I don't see, a whole lot of scars, from this incident. And I said, brother, my scars are on the inside. And that is something that I know that a lot of folks in the fire service, whether it's behavioral health or whether it's actual, just remembering things, or whether it's actual outward injuries, all of us have at some point that, is a big takeaway from this incident as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you, a couple of points I want to quickly highlight that you mentioned. We had nothing to show and lost almost 4 members a couple of months later when they knocked it down and built a new structure right on its place. The impact of the direction of the door, where it leads to, how important that is for us to know. You were worrying about your face piece melting. And I think about the Pennsylvania Fire Academy, which is one of the fires that's in the book. And we've now seen that the change in that if you have, it's very different if you have an impact failure of your SCBA face piece or if you have a face piece melting. We used to just say cover the area, and we've learned now that if you cover the area or put your hand over it, you're basically going to wipe away the polycarbonate, and you're going to make yourself
make it worse
hot air quickly. So you're going to make it worse. I think about, you mentioned understanding black fire, volume, velocity, density, color of fire, the importance of that, and understanding that we are close to a flashover. We are close to auto ignition, close to flare, all of these different things that it's just missing the right mixture. And that black fire isn't, you won't see the flame, but once it gets the right mixture of oxygen, it's going to light off, understanding that. You mentioned the radio on the outside, and the radio, we know that the radio straps, those electronics are some of the weakest link in our equipment. So having them protected by a bunker gear, how important that is. the thermal imaging camera back in 2008, we didn't always take it off of the rig. Today, you're negligent if you don't take it off the rig in a structural fire. And there's so many. And knowing that how we train with that, you barely mentioned even the ceiling height as another factor. We saw a fire at the front door in an area that had a very tall ceiling there. In one of the pictures we saw on the side of the siding, what looked like smoke that would have been from the area of the truss loft for the first and second floor. I think about, the importance of the 360. Somebody put this in the chat about what else are we going to gain from that, seeing that other side. And we're going to, first off, we may see where the actual fire started, the fire location, an alternate access point. We may see victim location. We may see the height difference. It could be 2 stories in the front and 3 stories in the back with a walkout, and how important that is. We could see if the fire started below us. Sometimes we can't see that from the side. Like I said, my sheet of paper is full of information, of notes that I took tonight, and I had already known so much about this fire from interacting with your story and from this book. So I can't thank you enough for coming on here and being honest. And thank God it was a close call and not a line of duty death, because that is, boy, the Swiss cheese was close to lining up. And the training, and it was mentioned, right? Don't let anybody shortchange your training. It's so important that we stay current, and everybody's got these structures in their area. So again, thank you for being on here tonight.
I think, one of the guys said too. One of the guys said that the organization changed because we see so many incidents like this where they go back to business the same way. And credit to Chief Keith Brower at the time, who was leading it, and literally it changed the department, and that's a good thing. Thank God it did. Thanks for being with us tonight, Micah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all.
Maybe I can mute myself. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you coming on. All right, Brandon, you've been in the on deck circle. You ready?
I think he was itching. I could see it.
He's itching?
Yeah, he's ready. So
who wants to set him up, Chief? You want to set up?
Yeah, I'll set him up. So chapter 7 was written by Brandon Cory. And I met him a couple of years ago at a fire conference, and he had presented his story. I missed it. But a couple of people came up to me and said, he's a guy you got to meet. You got to hear his story. So I basically got a one-on-one course about that fire and about his friend Ben. And since I met Brandon, I have met his dad, who's in the fire department. I have also met Ben, his friend. I've met his dad and his mom. Ron is Ben's father. And I also met his mother recently at the fire they were there at the Memorial Weekend. And it's important to point out that this fire was in 2020. And after their 23-year-old son, who was a captain in their fire department, was killed in the line of duty, their son was honored at the National Fallen Firefighter Memorial Weekend. And when I met them, they were there to help out new families that are coming and being part of Memorial Weekend. And it's just remarkable, the generational impact. And at the time, his sister Tori was in the volunteer department. And Ben's mom is Carla. I forgot the name for a minute there. And because meeting them was pretty emotional for me in what they've gone through and what they continue to do. I couldn't even imagine losing your child at 23 years old at a fire that you're at. So, Brandon, thank you for sharing the story. And for Ben's parents, know that we will always make sure that people know your son's story and that other firefighters will understand, and we'll have these watch outs for people to make sure that we could potentially have different outcomes. As Micah said earlier, this is how we save firefighter lives. So, Brandon, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Brendan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I want to give a quick shout out to Ron and Carla also. They've obviously losing their son, helping out with all this stuff, and they're a really big help with me too. A lot of the stuff that I go down and talk about Ben, do all the teaching, they allow me to do it. When I first started doing this, I went and talked to them first just to make sure, I had their blessing to be able to go and share their son's story and everything. And they obviously gave me the go ahead because they know the impact that hopefully this story will continue to have on the fire service and hopefully be able to save other firefighters' lives in the future. So I just want to give them a quick shout out and everything for all the stuff they continue to do to help make the fire service better also. For sure. So we'll jump into our fire. Like Chief Leeb said, it's Chapter 7 on a duplex. It's on an old Air Force base up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, just a little south of Lake Superior. So there's a picture sometime after the fire. Unfortunately now, just like the last story we heard, it is torn down and everything. But it is a duplex kind of split level. So on the front half where you're looking at, the actual doors to enter the structure are on the sides of the house. So the B and D corners. The fire on this one will be on the AB side of the house or the duplex. The kitchen and living room are what you're looking at. Right as you go in the door, we'll see a picture later. A little bit inside, you have the stairs going upstairs where all the bedrooms were and one bathroom, and then the stairs right next to it go down to the basement. The A side of the structure also was on a concrete slab, so the basement was underneath the bedrooms and everything. So here's the side of the structure that the fire was actually on. So we got called that night, right around between 9:30 and 10 o'clock that night for a structure fire, everyone out of the building. This was in Ben Lawrence jurisdiction in their township, Forsyth Township. The department I was on for that was our county rescue team through the sheriff's department. So we were part-time deputies with them, most of us firefighter, EMS. I was a paramedic at the time. We got dispatched for as the RIT team. So in a lot of area in our county, we would get dispatched to structure fires as the RIT team. They also had two other departments called there for mutual aid for tankers and manpower. Up in the UP, we are pretty rural and everything. Even there, first station where they're all coming from was a little ways away. So from time of dispatch to time on scene was about 20 minutes. But in reality, that's pretty normal for most of our area up here in the rural area. From where we're coming from, we're kind of scattered all over the county. Our truck that we responded from and everything got on scene about 35 to 40 minutes from page out. So they were already on scene before we got there. Their first officer arriving on scene gave a first on report that fire through the roof, fully involved. So it's kind of one first teaching point that kind of hit us. Obviously, we heard that. We kind of started talking, getting our game plan as a RIT team. Well, if fire's already through the roof, fully involved, we don't think that anyone's going to be in there, from the fire department. Me and my partner that were in the back, our idea of fully involved is flames everywhere that we can't occupy that space. So we're not thinking, anyone's going to be in that structure at that. Now after that, doesn't matter what kind of first in report we're getting, I'm always thinking that there's going to be victims or people in that, fire until we get on scene and prove otherwise. So our mindset kind of a little bit was a little laxed just because we didn't think anyone was going to be in there. So we pull on scene. We were back about a half a block because it's kind of in the middle of the block that they were on, and we could see, an orange glow in the night sky. When we get there, we can kind of see fire through that side roof. And then I look down and I can see hose lines going into the structure. And obviously that changed my mindset and my partner's mindset a little bit at that, because now we know that the people are in there. So me and my partner and my dad, who was our officer for that night, we go meet up with their assistant chief to start kind of getting the game plan and finding out where people were. Didn't know until after talking, getting more of the stuff after the incident. Their first arriving truck that Ben was on, again, they had fire through that seaside roof. They set a crew inside, kind of at the bottom of the stairs, going upstairs to spray water. And then Ben and his partner went down in the basement to check for extension and everything. They did have some fire down there, not a whole lot. They were able to put all that out, kind of did some search down there. At that point, his partner started getting a little low on air, so they came out of the structure to switch out bottles. So when we got on scene, the first crew that went in was still in there at the bottom of those stairs, spraying water. They had a crew on the seaside spraying water onto the roof and through that hole, and then they're pulling another line at that point. When we made it to the B side where the door was and started talking to their assistant chief, that crew that was inside made their way out, kind of talked to them, kind of see what was going on. They said that whole second story where the bedrooms were was pretty much fully involved. Not really getting a great knocked on it, but they had to switch out bottles. At that point, I noticed some fire coming out of a B-side window. Went to go grab a hand line just to kind of, again, try to spray some of that, but they got another crew to start doing that. So I continued talking with the assistant chief, trying to get some more information. My partner that was in the back of the truck and another one of our members that showed up, they started doing a 360, got some more information. At that point, I was about to start my 360. At this point, Ben came up, talked to him a little bit because we go way back a little bit. Both of our dads in the area were volunteer firefighters, so kind of knew Ben growing up and everything. At first, I was always the young kid going around to all of our county trainings, and always had to be, the victim for our dads and, the extrication stuff or different things. And then Ben finally got old enough and started coming around, and I was like, sweet, I'm not that young guy anymore. I can start watching a little bit more, and Ben can take over for that. So I got to talk to him a little bit. At that time too, my wife and his girlfriend worked at the hospital as nurses together. So we made a little joke about them. His partner came up and they went back into the fire to try to stop the spread.
How long
at that point,
burning?
I didn't realize that was
burning at this point.
Probably close to 50 minutes. Because the other thing with it too that we found out after, that the person that was renting it waited about 20 to 30 minutes to call 911 after the fire started. Not really sure why.
Anything left?
I
was going to say 50 minutes. It's
50 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brandon. Thank you.
So, so yeah, I didn't know that was going to be, the last time I got to ever talk to Ben, really. So watched him go in, him and his partner. He was the first on the hose line. They're at the bottom of the steps, just spraying water. Kind of looked, I always got the question. It was like, well, did you feel comfortable with them going in? Yeah, because where they were at that point, they were on a concrete slab, nothing burning over them, spraying water, protecting themselves, totally fine. At that point, I looked at my dad, told him that I was going to start doing, my 360 as the RIT team to get more eyes on it. As I was about to turn around, look back one more time, noticed that Ben and his partner, weren't at the bottom of the stairs anymore. Could see, didn't know how far they were up the stairs, but they're on the stairs. Kind of back of my mind, there's a picture going up to the stairs. In my mind, noted that, knew that it had to be somewhat good because there was a crew just up there. Was just about to turn the corner around that little garage that was on the front, and all of a sudden heard his assistant chief kind of say, Ben, over the radio, Ben, you try to say something. And, for some reason, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Like, that's just not normal. And then all of a sudden, his partner came running out of that side door, screaming for help. Didn't even think twice. Dropped to my knee, started to get my mask on, gloved up, everything. My partner right there too, everything. And we were probably masked up into the building to Ben after his partner came, and within 60 seconds. So that's a picture of the basement after the fire. So you can see that there was some fire down there. Some of the fire did reach to the floor trusses and everything. They did char them up a little bit, but nothing, not bad enough that it caused true structural damage. But so, like I said, me and my partner got to Ben. If you could go back to that one picture with the stairs. So these are the stairs going up. Ben was right at the top of the stairs, kind of facing us, but also more towards the railing a little bit. So he wasn't looking directly down the stairs. He was at kind of an angle. So I was the first one to him up those stairs, grabbed onto him right away. He was still trying to push up a little bit, try to get unstuck, let him know, hey, it was me. We're here. We're going to, get you out. So I grabbed, because his bottle was still above the floor also. So I grabbed the back of his bottle and his right shoulder strap. My partner grabbed his left, and we tried, pulling him up. Because training before, all the time, someone falls through a hole, you just grab them, you pull them up, no big deal. So we're like, all right, we're going to have this. We went and pulled them, and Ben maybe moved an inch and all that. It was like a wine bottle cork stuck in a bottle when you're trying to pull it out. And there's kind of the picture of the hole. The one kind of little deceiving of this picture, because that hole looks pretty big, that someone should be able to, either fall all the way through or get out, be pulled out pretty easy. But if you look kind of halfway back on that hole, you see that little triangle piece that's sticking out. If you draw a line from that triangle piece all the way over to the other side and fill in everything behind it, that's the size of the hole. Because everything behind that little triangle piece was not burned through when we were there. That burned through after we got Ben out. I went back about a year later and got measurements, and it was about a 13-inch all the way around size hole and everything right in between the trusses. So he was, stuck in there pretty good.
How far? How deep
so
was
after
he?
we tried to pull him up, it was about belly button ish. That was, kind of to the floor.
Right.
And what are the fire conditions?
Kind of hard to really tell. So the fire conditions were, it was still pretty well involved up there. I say all the time, thankfully, they did have that vent hole that was created by the fire in the roof already, just because a lot of stuff was still venting out there. But everything around us and behind us was still rolling pretty good and everything. because obviously you saw that one picture with the stairs. 2 firefighters in gears on stairs doesn't give us a whole lot of room, especially when we're trying to reach over and grab one of our own to pull up. So if you can see in this picture, kind of the drywall is knocked down, or even where the studs are exposed. That drywall is there, but me and my partner were just trying to knock more stuff around to try to gain more access. So are you looking at where you see the exposed studs? That's actually the room of origin. I was trying to knock some of that stuff down and actually get into that room and around them more. But I really only lasted seconds in there just because it was getting so hot. So kind of going back again, after we tried to pull them the first time, again, knowing training before, pulling the floor usually means that more of the floor is weakened. So I started hitting around him to try to break more of that floor up and everything. That floor was solid, rock solid all the way around him. Even the year after, when I went back, you could walk that whole floor. It was no structural damage to the floor. It was just that 13 by 13 by 13 hole that burned right there. So we tried gaining more access, like I talked about. We tried to pull him up again, barely moved again, and all this.
Is he burning at this point? Is there fire underneath him?
Team member. Nope, no fire underneath him. Because at this point, a third member of our team came in and we sent him to the basement to check conditions, but see if he could kind of see everything. He said there was no fire or anything down there causing any issues. And thankfully he's like 6'6", 6'7" that we sent down there, because Ben was actually able to stand on his shoulders and kind of, push up a little bit. So he tried again. And my partner that was down there, he was actually able to reach up and undo his waist belt, because his waist belt was underneath the floor. Wow. And when we did that, I kind of felt some, relief in him. So we went to pull him one more time, still didn't move. At that point, because I had my right arm wrapped around him, I could feel him go limp in my arm. So kind of talked to him, got no response. Couldn't tell if he was breathing or just not breathing enough to engage our MMR. So I hit the purge valve. Again, trying to figure out something to do because he's not coming this way. Talked to my partner and decided that we're going to, send him down to the basement. He's not coming up. Let's try to get him down. And even that was kind of tough. Again, just the size of the hole, all of our gear. So as we're pushing him through, we're taking off his air pack, his mask. He had to take his jacket off.
So he was out of air?
Helmet
he ran
and everything.
Out of air? Is that what happened? I wouldn't.
Nope.
So he had his face piece on?
He went, yep, he had his face piece on. Bottle was pretty much full, because from the time that he went in the second time to when his partner came yelling out was maybe 5 minutes of him in the structure. So he never ran out of air, even with the purge valve open. So once we lowered him to the basement, we had one of our guys there. His partner was down there. They started, bringing him up the stairs. I went and met him at those stairs. We finished getting him up, and then got him out to a backboard that was waiting. Got him onto the stretcher. Their fire department had a limited advanced life support ambulance on scene with 3 EMTs. So they were getting them loaded. Knew that an ALS ambulance from our area was coming, but it was still a little ways out. So I'm coming out, kind of tired and everything. But in my mind, the job wasn't done. Nothing against, Forsyth's EMS. But I knew I was the only medic on that scene. So I started ditching my fire gear. At this point, my dad's right on me, asking me if I'm okay. I'm kind of pushing him away, like, hey, get out of my way. I, still want to do my job. So I'm ditching my fire gear, knowing I have to hop on this ambulance and, start doing what I can until we can get to the ALS care.
Brandon,
so we get him into the rig.
What was his injuries? He fell into the floor.
So Yep. So quick exam and everything. I couldn't see any injuries. He didn't have, any cuts. He did have an abrasion on his side, but I think that happened when we lowered him, through the floor, kind of the jacket coming up. But no obvious injuries. And
But yet he's unconscious.
even on a quick trauma. Yeah, he was unconscious and wasn't breathing. He was starting to turn, cyanotic around the lips and everything at this point. So when we were pulling him out, just trying to get him out, he was put face down on the backboard. It is what it is. When we got him into the ambulance, wanted to obviously roll him. I just kind of point to everyone that was, standing at the back of the open door, say, hey, you come up here, help me roll him, and grabbed one side of him. As I roll him, I look up and I didn't notice that I had pointed to his dad to come up and help me roll him and everything. So that was kind of a shock. Yeah. So I looked at him, I said, hey, Ron, I know what's going on, but I need you to, get out of the ambulance right now so I can continue my job. And he understood. Got right out and everything. So got that. Got the monitor hooked up to them. They are also the only ones in our county that have a Lucas device. So we got that hooked up to them. I got an airway started and we
automatic CPR, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we left scene right away, met up with ALS. The medic working that night was one of my mentors coming up through the medical side and everything. He's been doing it for 20 years and everything. So was really happy at that point to see him pop through my ambulance doors, because I knew again we had the A team going. So we got all our meds going and everything, because I already had an IO started, all that. I had him intubate because, again, thinking traumatic, probably arrest. So wanted to get that definitive airway. And, we ran everything we could think of for, that code, through multiple rounds of epi. We threw D50 at him because we figured, hey, he was working, maybe a little bit of a glucose issue. We got on the phone with our ER doc, who used to actually be a medic in the Detroit area. So bouncing stuff off him. We did crush injury, anything that we could think of, we threw at Ben. Got to about, the 45-minute mark of running this code, and kind of had to have that, decision and everything. And I'll never forget it. Something was mentioned, and I kind of looked up at the medic that came, and because he was bagging after he intubated, and he kind of had that look on his face that, hey, it was mentioned, it's probably time to think about, talking to the doctors and the family about calling it, but I will sit here with you until, you're ready and all that. And, he just had that look on him, and I'll never forget it. And I just kind of look at him and I said, is it? And he said, yeah, I think so. I said, well, I'll stay in here, continue stuff. But his dad and sister were, on scene because we stopped at the side of the road when we met up with ALS. I said, you can go talk to them, and if they say they're good, I'm good, but I'm going to run this, until we run out of stuff or someone pulls me away. So he went and talked to Ron and his sister, and they said it was okay. And, we stopped life-saving measures at that point.
How far were you?
What was it that killed him, Brandon? Do they know?
Traumatic asphyxiation. So autopsy was done. He had no underlying medical issue that he didn't know about and everything, but just with the size of the hole and where he was at, just kind of was squeezing him from the inside out.
So he probably couldn't expand his rib cage to breathe either, right? I mean, that's what I would think if he was
correct
in there. So
yep.
What a shame.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I got a couple of quick questions for you. You mentioned the sheriff rescue. Is that a heavy rescue?
Yeah.
That funded by the sheriff but staffed by firefighters?
Yep. Yeah. So it's funded through the sheriff's department through their special ops division. I'm not on that unit now. That I'm at a different department full time. But their staff, it's like a paid on call department. But staffed with firefighter, EMTs, paramedics. They do have 2 full-time staff deputies that are also firefighter EMTs that run it too, but everyone else is like a volunteer.
So it's just a regional rescue service.
We spawned up. Tech rescue. It started as a extrication unit for the whole county, but as more departments started getting extrication tools, expanded, and then for pretty much the central and west and some south of our county, they're RIT, and then the parts that not are covered by my department that I work at now full time.
Okay. You mentioned about switching out bottles. It's just so important for our suburban and urban folks listening that in this rural scenario, there may be nobody else coming for a half hour. So you go in, you come out, you put on your bottles. Many years ago, we had a fire and it was in a relatively rural area. I went through 5 bottles. I mean, today that's not even thought of. You have replacement, you have people on deck, but it really clicked when you said that. Mm-hmm. Nobody else coming, right? And then the last thing is just a comment.
Right.
This is a classic rural operation where it's a family affair, and that's good. And it also is negative. You've got family members responding together, but if the families don't join, who else is joining, right? So thank you for your for sharing this. I'm sure Frank's got some points he wants to make, and maybe Micah too. So
yeah, I just want to thank you for being on here. Thank you to Ben's family, as I mentioned. I know you're now an advocate for the NFFF as well, which I think is amazing as well. And the evolution and what happens. I know you run the area's fire conference. In fact, for you guys, I'm wearing my Great Lakes hot T-shirt tonight, and I just think that the evolution of what you continue to do. And I'm glad you mentioned the size of the hole. I know when you go and teach this, you have a piece of plywood that demonstrates the size of it, which really drives it home. And I know from your entrance to having him out, trying all of the different things that you tried to do, was 9 minutes, which it may seem like a lot, but you guys try to plan A, B, C, and D in that time frame, get him out under extremely difficult circumstances. So. Again, thank you.
Brendan, what takeaways from you? What's your teaching point here?
So some of them kind of like every time I go talk about this, I open the book on myself and some of the things. Biggest one, or some of the biggest ones, obviously radio communication. I mean, if you look at the NIOSH 5, that's always there. But I've always, trained as written everything. The one thing I did not do when I got to them was give a radio report of the conditions that we had, or, the conditions of Ben. I just didn't even think about it. So getting, really comfortable with using those radios, train on them, give those reports. It doesn't have to be anything major, just something quick to give those people on the outside what's going on and everything. Because the people at our dispatch actually thought that it was me that has the Mayday, because people on the outside were trying to reach me over the 800 and I wasn't responding. So a lot of people thought, I was the one down and everything. So that's a big one. I've done a lot of research and talking with people about the incident overall. I don't think anything incident-wise could have been, really done different that would have came the outcome. It's a new weird incident that happened. But my kind of biggest thing just overall is, obviously training, huge thing, have that mindset of whatever you're going to, be ready for it, train for it, prepare for it. But not only just at the skills, but, the science behind, fires, reading smoke, reading fire conditions and all that. We need to be those critical thinking firefighters also. If we're good at our skills, but don't have that critical thinking or that knowledge behind it, you're still going to get yourself in trouble. We got to be, capable, competent, and confident firefighters in my eyes. If we can have those three things as firefighters, we're in reality going to make that fire ground safer. If we have a fire ground full, no matter of how many of the numbers are, if we're all capable, confident, and competent firefighters, it is going to make that fire ground safer.
So one thing that really stands out to me, and Chief Lee will definitely back me on this, is that when things go sideways, and the both of you, I mean, your training just kicked in like that, man. Like, you seem so young to me too. Like, to think out of the box, like you were thinking, trying multiple things. It's really amazing. It says a lot about you, about how, how much wiser you are, according to your age. I mean, you just, you took over and you tried many things, and your training kicked in, and both of you actually, and Chief Leeb says it all the time, man. He's the training guy. He's the guy who built the rock. He's right. So just my hat's off to you. I know it's a sad thing, especially being your friend, man. I'm sitting here brokenhearted for you. But if you can help out somebody else in this book, and
did you guys start like after we had certain fires, we, Richie Sclafani, similar to what you said, where he didn't, guys went down to get him, and it was like he was nailed to the floor. And so they came up with a mock scenario, and they had guys run through that scenario and find the best way to, again, if that happened tomorrow, what they would do. You know what I mean? Do you guys like
drill on that?
Drill on a scenario where, let's say, if the same thing happened tomorrow, what would you do? You know what I mean? Like, have you guys, would you Sawzall, or I'm just saying, I'm just shooting from the hip here.
Yeah, no, we've done it a couple times. I'm working with a couple people to actually design a prop for it and everything. The hardest part is, getting the size of the hole for that and the mannequin and kind of doing that. So, but in other trainings that I've done, I've, somewhat simulated it with, like Chief Leeb says, I'll put sheets of plywood, to make it the narrow hallway to try to do some of that stuff. But I am working with a couple other people to design a prop and test a couple different things and all that. I think Sawzall is going to be a good thing and all that.
You got to do that.
And
I mean,
test
it's the same thing with the Denver drill,
and
right?
we have been in different things. Yep.
I'm sure you guys have done the Denver drill, right? I mean, everybody.
Yep. So hopefully here soon we'll have some of that we can put out. We tested a couple things, but the hardest thing to kind of put up against it is that time frame, within 9 minutes. So, but we're testing a couple different things to, give out to people that, hey, you get a Mayday comes across this, you normally don't grab, say, the Sawzall or a battery power saw. If you have someone stuck in the floor, you might want to grab that right away, so you have it with you and everything. Just because if you do get into that situation, Yep.
But again, I thought.
Yeah, can I jump in real quick on something?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
A couple of things I wrote down here. Brandon, mad respect for you, brother. That is, everybody had to take a bite out of that one, man. It's the key point that I kind of connect on a couple of things here between my incident and your incident, literally for the group. I speak about it when I do my presentation, is if you've never ran the scenario in your head of the next victim or person that you work on, maybe the person that you rode on the apparatus with to that incident, you need to run that scenario in your head. And I don't say that to be morbid, but it's one of those things that you just have to kind of have the wiring connected in on your head with it. But secondary to that is the fact of being prepared. And with being prepared is you expect fire, you expect victims, and number three is I say that you expect Maydays. Because if you have that in your head already, you've already prepared because you've already thought that worst case scenario. So again, man, keep telling the story, brother, because folks need to hear it. And mad respect to you.
Mad respect to the both of you guys. We appreciate
Thanks,
you coming
G.
on. Yeah,
for sure. You too.
Chief Leeb and Billy, did you ever think, I mean, I can't even grasp it sometimes, the impact that this is going to have on the fire service. I know you guys are planning on even more stories after this, right? But, I mean, just listening to these two stories.
I just texted Billy G, and I just said, another incredible show. It's just, Rob said it in the chat. I couldn't say it any better. There's two types of people in our line of work, people on the job and people into the job. And these gentlemen are totally into the job. I totally agree. And that's what we see with all of the people that wrote these chapters. These are people that care about the job. They care about the people they work with. You could see it, right? You could hear it in their voices, how passionate they are about it. And it's really, it's incredible. It's about training. But so Brandon mentioned the NIOSH 5. So nobody has to look it up. I'm gonna read the NIOSH 5. So NIOSH has identified the top 5 causal factors in injuries and line of duty deaths: improper risk assessment, lack of incident command, lack of accountability, inadequate communications, and lack of SOP or failure to follow established SOPs. So since he mentioned it, I just wanted to point those out, since hopefully people will continue to use these as another resource along with the book when they go on to the website, the companion website for this, to be able to
We had that out yet, the companion website?
Yeah, so that is 30fires.com. www.30fires.com.
Oh, we have that, John, right?
Yes.
I don't think
we're going to load up these podcasts and some other ones to the appropriate section, so they'll actually be able to read the book, look at the reports, and now go to the podcast and listen to the people directly involved. So
there's only one problem with that, Billy. There is no other podcast except this one.
That's what I meant.
I don't know of anyone.
You know, one and geez, Frank and I could sit and talk about the NIOSH 5 all night long. But one of the most important things is when Frank mentioned the lack of incident command, so critical. And I think I mentioned this in the last show. If you're a boss and your companies are training, get out there and train with them. You can't sit in the office. And I'm not saying that a battalion chief pulls hose. I'm saying if you got a multi-company drill, the battalion chief does what the battalion chief does at the fire and what you would do on the job. It's such a big deal. And again, we see this conflict all the time. I'm a good guy. I want to get along with my people. You know what? You got to be tough sometimes. And here's 2 examples of why you got to be tough. You got to run a tight ship. And again, we could talk about it all night, but when Frank mentions that, it's one of my favorite subjects because it's so critical. You literally can go from being that decent guy in the firehouse, having a good time. When the bell goes off, it's no bullshit.
Well, I got to tell you, I wouldn't mind seeing a chief pull some hose. I'm just saying.
If you're watching
I knew somebody was going to say that.
If you're watching this and you don't know what to drill on, make a mock-up and stick a guy up to his waist or up to his armpits and practice that, because if you don't and it happens again, then shame on you, right? Like then you didn't learn anything, and unfortunately the guy that passed away, it's going to happen again. You know what I mean? So all these little things, you have to learn from it. I mean, that's the bottom line. You have to drill on it.
It's the Bible.
It's the Denver drill. It's the John Nance drill. There's so many. I mean, look this up. If you don't know the story of John Nance, the article, The Murder of John Nance, it's an article I used to give to new probies. Certainly the Denver drill mentioned in the chat as well by Steve. yeah, these are things. These are companions to be drilling with on this topic, so we could continue to progress forward.
We got one more company we got to talk about tonight, right, Gons?
Oh, which one is that? Oh, our Houston
The guy works for him. I think I might let him pick the health and safety tip of the night. What do you think? I have one right here. Unless he wants to do it.
All right, he's got 23 seconds to figure it out.
I'm gonna let you. You know what? I would say from both of our guests tonight, it's okay to not be okay, and to identify that and make sure that you're taking care of your people on and off the fire ground. That your responsibility doesn't end when we pack up the hose and we go back into the station. That we have to make sure that we are looking out for them. And Micah said that several times extremely well. So did Brandon. And I think that we couldn't end on a more poignant health and wellness tip than that.
Yes. Well, we're going to play the commercial anyway, seeing that you jumped the gun on that one. But yeah.
Stand by.
The First Responders Center for Excellence is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to protecting the lives and livelihoods of first responders. Their education and research initiatives aim to bring greater awareness and understanding the challenges to the health, safety, and well-being of firefighters, EMS personnel, and other first responders too. They are an affiliate of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation.
And if you want to hear the tip of the night, just rewind about 23 seconds and you'll hear Chief Leeb give the tip of the night.
34.
But I like what you said. It's okay not to be okay. And we have to look out for each other, man. And you talk about two fires like this, man, they leave lasting marks on you your entire life. So you need to get out. And it's good that you guys are getting out and talking about it and talk about it with the guys in the fire. Any fire you go to, any emergency you go to, any EMS run you go, you got to get it out. You got to talk.
Yeah, man. Don't bottle it up. Don't bottle it up.
Don't bottle it up. Yeah. One more thing, Gons. We have a line of duty tonight. We have to, unfortunately.
Yes, we do. Marcelo Garcia, 42 years old, 3-alarm warehouse fire, 10-year veteran on the job of Station 23. So I'll bring up his picture. Are you ready?
I will play the bells.
Here it is. There he is. Rest in peace, brother. Yeah. Rest in peace, brother. If I fail to mention, he's a Houston firefighter.
When was that, Guns?
That was just, I think, yesterday. Yeah.
Less than 24 hours ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our prayers go out to the firefighter in, what was it, Chicago that fell through the shaft, too.
Right.
Amen. All right, so we got you booked, I think, on a calendar. So start getting some other guys in here, fella. I think we have you in. I have you in the December. I do, right?
Yeah, I can't keep track. Yeah.
Right. I'll keep on top of you, Leeb. Don't worry here. All right.
What the heck? Got it. All right. So
all right, listen, for the last thing, we're having Chief Dunn on again. If I have to break a few arms here, you guys don't want to ask Vinny Dunn any questions, send them in, coopspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to do it, we're doing a Q&A with Chief Vinny Dunn. He's a good friend of Chief Leeb's. He's a good friend of ours. He's a legend. So send your questions in to coopspodcast@gmail.com.
That show's not on the books yet, right?
No, I'm waiting to gather enough questions when these nincompoops send them in. You know what I'm saying?
Understood. Because we have Captain Tim Grant on the 18th because we don't have a show next week.
Yes, I will be away for the week. I'm taking a vacation. So how do you like them apples?
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you, bro.
You like apples?
You like apples? Billy.
How about those
Chief
apples?
Leeb, Micah, and Brandon. Thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, this book, generations, brother. Generations.
For sure.
Roof, go out and kill something else while you're up there. Enjoy yourself.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And maybe you can talk to Brandon because he likes to kill stuff too up there in the north up, somewhere it is. And that's all I got.
UP
Peninsula.
The UP. Up in the UP.
UP.
Yep. Yep. Come hunt this way one year.
I can't see. Let me get up here. I got to get up here because the damn camera's in a bad spot.
The rookie numbers, Gonzo.
Those are rookie numbers. You got to get those numbers 2-3 times a day.
Enjoy. I don't know where you'll be next, Chief Lee, but be safe in your travels. You're all over the world. It's good for you.
I don't know. He's going to join us with Chief Leeb. I'm sorry. He's going to join us with Vinny.
Vinny. Oh,
Chief Leeb. Chief Leeb's going to join us with Vinny.
Oh, Vinny done. All right. Billy, keep the
Well,
mustache.
Vinny, you know
down. I
Vinny.
like it.
You know, Vinny.
Oh,
You know,
cool.
like Ed.
Wow.
Yeah, come on. I'll ask Chief Dunn a couple of questions.
Yeah? All right.
Oh, come on. Let me know.
He wants this frequent
I haven't been
flyer
on that
miles.
often.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you're not on the show enough. We got to get you on a little bit. All right, boys. Spread it, share it, like it. You know how to do it. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, stay low and go.
All right, everybody. We'll see you at the big one.
See you at the big one. All right. Yeah. All right, just have a good night, everyone. Take care.
See you guys.